Have you ever wondered why you keep falling into the same habits, even when you know they're bad for you? Or why some people seem to easily break free from their harmful routines and transform their lives? What if I told you there's a science behind it, a simple formula that, once you understand it, can help you change your life? In The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, you'll discover the fascinating ways habits shape every aspect of our lives, our health, our productivity, even our success. From real-life stories of people like Lisa Allen, who broke free from years of addiction, to groundbreaking research on how our brains store habits, this book reveals the secrets to harnessing the power of habit for good. Stay with me as we dive deep into these stories, the science and practical techniques you can apply to change your habits and unlock the potential for success in your life. Whether you want to quit a bad habit or create new, powerful routines, this summary will show you how. Let's explore together how habits work, and by the end, you'll be ready to take the first step toward transforming your life. Ready to change your habits? Let's begin. The Habit Cure. Lisa Allen, 34, had been battling addictions to alcohol and cigarettes since she was 16. Along with these struggles, Lisa also had a lifelong issue with her weight. She was constantly troubled by it. On top of that, she was drowning in more than $10,000 of debt. To make matters worse, she couldn't hold on to a job for more than a year. But today, the woman sitting before the researchers was completely different. This Lisa was slim, fit, and radiating happiness. Her legs were toned like those of a runner. Comparing her current self to her old photos, she looked at least 10 years younger. Lisa was now debt-free, had quit both drinking and smoking, and had held a job at a graphic design firm for the past 3 years. "When did you last smoke a cigarette?" one of the researchers asked. Lisa replied, "It's been about 4 years. I lost 60 pounds and completed a marathon since then. I'm also pursuing a master's degree, and I've bought my own house." Lisa's life was full of positive changes, and they just kept coming. For the past 3 years, psychologists, neurologists, and other experts had been studying Lisa and 23 other people with similar stories. Some were alcoholics, others chain smokers. Some struggled with obesity, and a few were addicted to shopping. The National Institute of Health funded this research. There was one thing common among Lisa and the other participants. They all managed to break free from their bad habits in a very short amount of time, and the experts were determined to uncover the secret behind this. The researchers installed cameras in the participants' homes to monitor their daily routines. Everyone also had to go through MRI brain scans since they all had addictions, whether to cigarettes, alcohol, or food. I know you've shared this story before, but could you tell us once again how you managed to quit smoking? A researcher asked. And so, Lisa began telling her story again. Lisa had gone on vacation to Cairo, Egypt. A few months before that, her husband came home from work one day and told her that he wanted a divorce because he had fallen in love with someone else. Lisa was completely shattered. She couldn't believe it, but the reality was right in front of her. Her husband loved another woman and didn't want to spend another moment with Lisa. She was devastated. In an attempt to drown her sorrow, Lisa turned to alcohol and cigarettes. But even they couldn't numb the pain. Lisa became obsessed with following her husband and his girlfriend. Wherever they went, she would follow them. She'd call her husband's girlfriend in the middle of the night and hang up. One night, Lisa, in a drunken state, showed up at the girlfriend's house and made a scene. She yelled, banged on the door, hurled insults, and even threatened to burn the house down, That was the worst day of her life. She had never felt so miserable and alone. Then, out of the blue, she remembered that she had always wanted to see the pyramids in Egypt. Since she still had some credit left on her card, she decided to take a trip. On her first morning in Cairo, Lisa woke up to the sound of the call to prayer from a nearby mosque. Her hotel room was pitch black, and she had a terrible headache from jet lag. She craved a cigarette, so she lit one in the dark. But instead of the familiar smell of tobacco, she got the stench of burning plastic. What she had thought was a Marlboro cigarette was actually a pen. Frustrated, Lisa felt completely defeated. For the past several months, she had been angry, upset, and lost. She felt ashamed of herself, and hopelessness often overwhelmed her. She would cry for hours at night and binge eat without control. She didn't have a job, and her weight kept increasing. Her life felt like it was on the verge of complete collapse. She was so helpless that she couldn't even light a cigarette properly. A few months passed, and then one day, Lisa made a decision. She got out of bed, took a shower, and stepped outside the hotel. She took a taxi to the Sphinx and the pyramids of Giza, surrounded by the vast desert. Lisa made up her mind that she wasn't going to let her life fall apart like this. She needed a purpose, something that would give her life direction. She promised herself that she would return to Egypt the following year and go trekking in the desert. No matter what, she was determined to accomplish this goal. The idea seemed crazy to her. She was overweight and she didn't have enough money. But Lisa had accepted the challenge, and now she was willing to do anything to achieve it. The first step was to quit smoking. Exactly a year later, Lisa and a group of 6 others embarked on a desert trek in Egypt. Lisa fulfilled the promise she had made to herself. From the moment Lisa decided to quit smoking, her life began to change. Over the next 6 months, she took up jogging to overcome her smoking habit. To curb her binge eating, she started following a healthy diet. She made sure to sleep on time and wake up on time, and the quality sleep she got improved her productivity. Instead of spending money recklessly, she started saving for the future. Lisa even ran a marathon, went back to school, and bought a new house. The researchers observed old patterns in Lisa's brain, but they had weakened. Her brain had developed new neural pathways that were strong and connected her to her new, healthier habits. Lisa had become a favorite subject for the research experts because her brain scans were clear and showed that, in a way, Lisa had rewired her brain. How habits work. In 1933, a man named Eugene Pauly walked into a laboratory in San Diego. He was over 6 feet tall, elderly, and wearing a blue button-down shirt. His hair was as white as cotton, and he moved slowly, likely due to arthritis. In medical literature, people like him are often referred to as EP. About a year earlier, Eugene had suddenly fallen ill. He started vomiting and experienced severe abdominal pain. The constant vomiting left him dehydrated, so his wife rushed him to the hospital. At that time, Eugene had a high fever, which also affected his mental state. When a nurse tried to insert an IV into his arm, Eugene lashed out aggressively, kicking at her. Seeing his condition, the doctor sedated him. While he was unconscious, the doctor inserted a needle between 2 vertebrae in his spine to extract some fluid, and immediately realized what the problem was. Normally, the fluid between the brain and spinal cord is clear and flows smoothly, like a silk thread passing through a needle. However, the fluid extracted from Eugene's body was different. It was cloudy and sticky. Tests revealed that Eugene had viral encephalitis, a type of virus that causes cold sores, mild infections, fever, and blisters. Although this virus is usually harmless, it can become deadly if it reaches the brain. Once in the brain, the virus begins to consume delicate brain tissue, effectively eating away at our thoughts and dreams. In Eugene's case, part of his brain had already been damaged by the virus, and the doctors couldn't repair it. However, they gave Eugene large doses of antiviral drugs to stop the virus from spreading further. Eugene spent the next 10 days in a coma, teetering between life and death. Slowly, the medication started working, and his fever came down. The virus seemed to disappear from his body. When Eugene woke up from the coma, his mental condition was weak, but he was alive, a miracle in itself. The doctors ran additional tests on him. Physically, Eugene was fine. He could move his limbs, and he responded to light and sound. However, his brain scans showed that the virus had eaten away an oval tissue in the center of his brain. Where the cranium and spinal column once connected, there was now an empty space. The doctor informed Eugene's wife that they needed to prepare for the fact that Eugene would never be the same person again. He said, "I've never seen anyone come back from the brink of death like this. I don't want to give you false hope, but this case is completely unique for us." A few weeks later, Eugene was discharged from the hospital and began rehabilitation treatment. However, he couldn't remember the days, weeks, or months that had passed. No matter how many times the doctors introduced themselves, Eugene couldn't remember their names. Back at home, Eugene couldn't recognize his friends. Sometimes he would wake up in the morning, go to the kitchen, and start cooking bacon and eggs. Then he would return to the bedroom and turn on the radio. 40 minutes later, he would repeat the same routine, get up, cook bacon, and turn on the radio. Eugene became a favorite subject for memory loss specialists. One of these experts was Larry Squire from the University of California, San Diego. Squire had been studying the neuroanatomy of memory for 30 years. He observed that Eugene couldn't retain new information. When shown photos of his grandchildren, he couldn't recognize them. He didn't even remember being sick or that he had been in the hospital. Squire also noticed that Eugene could move easily from one room to another in his house. When asked how he remembered the layout of the house, Eugene couldn't explain. He knew where the kitchen and bathroom were, but didn't know how he remembered that information. However, when asked to draw a map of his house, he was unable to do so. Eugene had lost his memory, but he hadn't lost his habits. It was because of these habits that he could move around the house. He even knew his way around the neighborhood, and when he went for walks, he could find his way back home. But when asked how he did this, Eugene couldn't explain. Eugene's daily routine looked like this. He would wake up in the morning, step outside the front gate, take a walk around the neighborhood, and return with a small stone. Then he would sit on the couch and watch the History Channel. This was his daily routine. Though his memory had faded, his habits remained intact. Thanks to these habits, Eugene could wander around the neighborhood and return home with ease. The human brain is like an onion made up of many layers. The outer layers handle complex thinking processes, but deep inside the brain, near the brainstem, are primitive structures that control automatic behaviors like breathing or swallowing. Whether we remember them or not, these habits never disappear, even if our memory is lost. At the center of the human skull, about the size of a golf ball, lies a tissue called the basal ganglia, which is also found in mammals, fish, and reptiles. This is the place where our habits are stored. Scientists have discovered that we develop habits because the brain is always looking for ways to save energy. It turns any routine into a habit so that the brain can focus on more complex tasks. For example, when we walk, tie our shoes, dress, or brush our teeth, we don't have to think too much. Our hands and feet move automatically because these actions have become habits. We do them on autopilot. In essence, our brain chunks these tasks, dividing them into important and unimportant actions. This way, the brain doesn't have to work too hard on habits and can save energy for more difficult tasks like solving math problems or programming software. Our basal ganglia is fully active when we're brushing our teeth or tying our shoes. Thanks to these automatic habits, we are able to make decisions and engage in higher-level thinking. The habit loop. So, how do you create a habit? The habit loop works in a simple pattern. Cue, routine, reward. Cue, routine, reward. When you repeat this habit loop enough times, the behavior becomes automatic. Cue, routine, reward. Cue, routine, reward. But what exactly is a cue? It's the trigger that puts the behavior into action. The routine is the behavior itself, and finally, the reward is the positive affirmation that ensures the behavior will be repeated. In 1990, a group of MIT scientists conducted a memory experiment on rats. They found that rats with injured basal ganglia had difficulty completing tasks such as running through a maze or opening food containers. It seemed as though the rats had lost their memory. The scientists decided to observe the rats as they performed basic routines. They inserted tiny wires into the rats' brains to monitor their brain activity. These wires, which acted as sensors, sent all the information directly to a computer. The experiment placed the rats in a T-shaped maze with a piece of chocolate at the end. The task was for each rat to find the chocolate. A partition initially blocked the rats from the rest of the maze, and a loud click signaled the removal of the partition, triggering the rats to search for the chocolate. As the experiment began, the rats wandered through the maze, sniffing the corners and scratching the walls. They could smell the chocolate, but they couldn't quite figure out where it was. The rats would turn right, then left, but eventually they all found the chocolate. The sensors in their brains, connected to the computer, displayed the brain activity in real time. The images showed that while searching for the chocolate, the rats' basal ganglia were working at full power. Each time they scratched at the walls or sniffed the air, their basal ganglia were highly active. The team of scientists repeated the experiment multiple times, sending the rats through the same maze and routine. Eventually, something changed. The rats stopped wandering aimlessly. They no longer sniffed the air or scratched at the walls. This time, they went straight for the chocolate. They knew exactly where it was. The sensors showed that the activity in the basal ganglia had decreased. It wasn't as active as before. Finding the chocolate had become an automatic routine for the rats, something they no longer had to think hard about. The cue was the click sound. The routine was navigating the maze, and the reward was the chocolate. As the rats repeatedly went through this habit loop, the basal ganglia stored the habit. Initially, it required full brain activity, but as the habit became ingrained, the effort from the basal ganglia lessened. This experiment proved that our brain stores habits so it can conserve energy for more important tasks. The habit of success. Our bad habits tend to stick around because they are waiting for the right cue. Once triggered, we fall back into the same routine. The only way to break this cycle is to replace the bad habit with a good one. To do this effectively, you need to keep the cue and reward the same, but change the routine. For example, let's say you have a habit of browsing the internet all day. You spend hours on social media, which reduces your productivity and leaves you with no time for good habits like jogging or exercising. If you stay up late scrolling through your phone, you'll naturally wake up late in the morning. But you can change this routine. First, identify the cue, coming home. Instead of lying on the couch and grabbing your phone, put on your running shoes and go for a jog. This becomes your new routine. After an hour, reward yourself with a refreshing strawberry smoothie. When you repeat this new loop, cue, routine, reward, you start forming a new habit. The cue remains the same, coming home from work. The new routine is jogging, and the reward is the strawberry smoothie. This habit loop can help you break any bad habit you want to leave behind. Remember the pattern: cue, routine, reward. To break a bad habit, use the same cue and reward, but change the routine. Now let's learn from the next story. Travis Leach grew up in a challenging environment. Both of his parents were drug addicts. Every day, Travis would come home to find his parents slumped in front of the TV, high on drugs, their eyes rolled back. When Travis was 9, his mother was arrested for drug use and prostitution, and in that same year, he witnessed his father overdose on heroin. Travis saw his father lying on the floor, his face turning blue. His siblings knew what to do in these situations. His brother tried to turn their father's body upright, while his sister kept his mouth open to prevent his tongue from choking him. Travis ran to the neighbors to call 911 for help. By the age of 16, Travis had dropped out of high school. He said he couldn't bear the bullying any longer. His classmates mocked him, followed him, and threw things at him. For Travis, leaving school and his hometown seemed like the easiest way out. He moved to Fresno and started working at McDonald's and Hollywood Video. At work, Travis often had to endure rude customers. Once, a customer yelled at him, "I want ranch dressing, you moron!" Travis lost his temper and shouted back, "Get out of my drive-thru!" He even threw chicken nuggets at the customer's car. At times, Travis would get so angry that he'd break down and cry in the middle of his shift. He often showed up late to work or missed shifts altogether. At home, he would stand in front of the mirror talking to himself, trying to give himself orders to be better and act normal like everyone else. But the truth was, Travis struggled to fit in socially. His line at the cash register would often get longer and longer, causing his manager to scold him. At such moments, Travis would shake with anxiety and feel short of breath. One day, a regular customer at Hollywood Video struck up a conversation with Travis. The customer suggested that Travis should apply for a job at Starbucks. This customer was the assistant manager of a new Starbucks branch in Fort Washington and offered to help Travis apply. Within a month, Travis was working the morning shift as a barista. That was 6 years ago. Today, at 25 years old, Travis manages 2 Starbucks locations, supervises a team of 40 people, and generates $2 million in annual revenue for the company. He earns a salary of $44,000. Travis is no longer late for work, nor does he take unnecessary leaves. He has full control over his emotions, so he no longer loses his temper at work. Once, when a customer yelled at one of his employees, Travis pulled the employee aside and calmly said, "Your apron is like a shield. As long as you're behind it, you're strong." But how did Travis achieve such a major transformation in his life? It all started with the Starbucks training program. On his first day as a barista, Travis attended a training lecture. This program was specially designed for Starbucks employees and structured in such a way that employees could even earn college credits upon completing the modules. Starbucks' training program completely changed Travis's life. It taught him how to focus on his job, how to live his life, and how to manage his emotions. Travis says, "Starbucks was the turning point in my life. I'll be grateful to this company for the rest of my life." Starbucks understood that to provide great customer service, employees needed willpower and self-discipline. That's why the company spends millions of dollars on training its employees and helping them develop new good habits. Starbucks has its own manuals and workbooks that provide instructions on how employees should handle difficult situations or deal with rude customers. For example, if a customer gets angry because they received the wrong drink, employees are taught to follow the LATTE method. Listen to the customer, acknowledge the complaint, take action by making the right drink, thank the customer, and explain why the mistake happened. By training its employees and teaching them about willpower, self-discipline, and good habits, Starbucks has unlocked the secret to its success. The good habits of their employees lead to excellent customer service, which is why Starbucks is more than just a coffee. It's an experience. Conclusion. You've now heard about Lisa Allen's incredible transformation, where she broke free from harmful addictions, and how Eugene Pauly relied on his habits to navigate his life despite losing his memory. You've also learned about Travis Leach's journey, where he turned his life around thanks to the power of good habits and the guidance from Starbucks. The truth is, habits shape our lives in ways we often don't even realize. And the best part? You have the power to change them. Whether it's replacing a bad habit with a good one or building new routines that push you toward success, the key lies in understanding the habit loop: cue, routine, and reward. So, what's stopping you from starting today? Think about the habits you want to change. It doesn't need to be big. Small, consistent changes can lead to massive transformations over time. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the power of habit. If this summary inspired you to take control of your habits and improve your life, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to channel for more life-changing insights. Together, we can harness the power of habits to shape a better future. Until next time, keep moving forward, one habit at a time.